Look at the IELTS score of someone you know. Their highest scoring module is either listening or reading, and their lowest scoring module is writing. Your writing score drags down your overall band score. But why is that the case? Why do we not get a higher score in writing? Well, you don't have to listen to me. Listen to IELTS examiners. They have left valuable comments, valuable advice that you've probably ignored so far. Today, I will explore some comments straight from IELTS examiners on why your writing score blows and how you can improve it. These comments are taken from Cambridge IELTS 17 and are meant for task 2. This is the first writing sample that I want to discuss. And before I look at the examiner's comments, let's read the prompt. So this is the prompt. It is important for people to take risks both in their professional lives and their personal lives. Do you think the advantages of taking risks outweigh the disadvantages? There are two views. Okay, so one is risks in professional lives, and the other is risks in personal lives. So here are the examiner's comments. This response discusses the advantages and the disadvantages of taking risks. It puts much greater emphasis on risks in professional life. First of all, it is obvious that taking risks will cause a great loss if people do it and fail. In personal life, this loss might not be so harmful. However, it will be really harmful in professional life. So, see, it switches from personal life to professional life in just one sentence. Most of it deals with risks in professional life and the benefits thereof. So this response is lopsided. Okay, it doesn't have equal treatment of both the aspects of the prompt, which is professional lives and personal lives. And you also have to talk about whether or not the advantages of taking risks outweigh the disadvantages. Whenever we're writing an essay, we should ensure that we are addressing all parts of the task. Okay, so this is directly related to task achievement or task response in case of writing task 2. And let's read some other comments. Cohesive devices can be quite mechanical with examples at the start of most sentences. Cohesive devices can be quite mechanical with examples at the start of most sentences. Okay, so I've underlined the cohesive devices in this response. First one is here, however, and then we have one here, first of all, and then however again, and then on the other hand, and then firstly, and also, and as I mentioned, and there's another one here towards the end. It says however. There is an abundance of cohesive devices here, linking words or linking expressions. But more problematic than that is that all of these cohesive devices are located at the beginning of the sentence. That's the problem. And what it does, it makes your writing sound mechanical or robotic. Okay, see, it's not my comment, it's the examiner's comment. Okay, cohesive devices can be quite mechanical with examples at the start of most sentences. So see, however, it comes at the beginning of the sentence. First of all, also at the beginning of the sentence. However, same here, same is the case with on the other hand, same is the case with firstly, and also, and as I mentioned, and also however. When we're using cohesive devices, sometimes we need to vary the location. It is probably the most common place for a cohesive device to be situated at the beginning of a sentence, but it is not the only location. Okay, there are other locations, other positions are also quite possible. For example, however, this can easily be positioned in the middle of the sentence or even at the end of the sentence. If the sentence is relatively short, you can also use this cohesive device at the end of the sentence. First of all, this expression can also be used after a few words. Okay, it is obvious. First of all, it's okay to use cohesive devices at the beginning of the sentence, but we should not do it each and every time. Okay, that's what makes the writing monotonous, makes the writing mechanical. Okay, so that's something to note. The next comment from the examiner is this one. The first paragraph is very short. Okay, let's look at the first paragraph. It says, it is said that taking risks brings a lot of benefits. However, it also gives us some drawbacks. This first paragraph is indeed very short. Here's a paragraph, here's an introduction that I've taken from a website, and this is a good example of an introductory paragraph. The introductory paragraph should be more elaborate. It should not be as short, as bare bones as this one. So let's read this one. Taking risks is an inevitable part of life, as people often face uncertain situations in their personal and professional domains. While some people believe that taking risks is beneficial for achieving success, others argue that it is too risky and may lead to negative consequences. In this essay, I will discuss both sides of the argument and explain why I think the advantages of taking risks outweigh the disadvantages. Just by reading the introductory paragraph, the introduction, you can easily tell that this is a much better response. There are other comments here, but I'm not going to read all of them. So here's another set of comments from the examiner. And before we look at the comments, as always, let's read the writing prompt. Some children spend hours every day on their smartphones. Why is this the case? Do you think this is a positive or a negative development? So here's the response, and here are the examiner's comments. Most of these comments are positive comments, okay? But there is one criticism leveled against this candidate who received a band 6.5, and the criticism is this. The range of grammatical structures is reasonable. That's not the criticism. The criticism is, but the level of error means the band score cannot be higher than 6.5. It is because of the number of mistakes or errors that this candidate did not get higher than a band 6.5. So let's look at some of the errors or mistakes that this candidate made. I already circled them or marked them in some way. Mobile phones, this is the subject, and the subject is plural, which means our verb also has to be plural. Okay, but the candidate used an S here with the verb, and that is a mistake because the candidate used a singular verb, but we need to use a plural verb. Okay, mobile phones nowadays contain, not contain. So the use of S here is a mistake. And let's see here, both the reasons and my view is elaborated further. Both the reasons and my view are. The verb should have been are elaborated further. The first reason for overusage. The first reason for overusage? No, the first reason for overuse. Okay. And again, these are not my comments. The examiner himself made these comments. See? Overusage, overuse. So the examiner is indicating that the correct word is this, overuse. And then other mistakes that follow, needs, he, needs, she. And then watching. So there's a dropped G here, and required to know. Rather than that, it should have been needs to know. Okay, so let's put them in context. Spend time. Okay, for instance, a child in my neighborhood chats for hours. A child in my neighborhood chats for hours. Chats. So chats is a singular verb, which means we also need to use a singular verb here, spends, but here the candidate used spend. So the candidate used the singular verb once, but the next minute he used the plural verb, which is again a mistake. Children plays. Children is the same. This is a mistake. Many of these mistakes are related to subject-verb agreement. Okay, so the general rule is, with a singular verb, use a singular subject, and with a plural verb, use a plural subject. Children plays. It should be children play. Okay. This article is redundant, it's not necessary. In addition, children can learn through internet by watching online, by watching there's a drop G. And for example, whenever my niece is required to know, it should be whenever my niece needs to know something. He searches niece. The word niece is feminine. Okay, so we should use the pronoun should be she and not he. And there's another mistake down here. But if given, okay. Overall, I agree the overusage of smartphones. Again, this should not be overusage, it should be overuse. Of smartphones on a regular basis is harmful for them, but if given proper guidance, mobile phones can help them in learning some lifelong skills. So the mistake here is that if given proper guidance, mobile phones, so this is a misplaced modifier, because mobile phones cannot be given proper guidance because mobile phones are devices, they are not humans. Okay, so it should have been restructured like so. For example, if given proper guidance, children can learn some lifelong skills. If given proper guidance, children can benefit from the proper use of mobile phones. Okay, so we can see that there is a ton of mistakes here, which is mainly why this response did not get a higher band score such as 7.5. So let's look at another example here. This writing also got a band 6.5. And here are the examiner's comments. Before we look at the comments, let's read the prompt. Some people believe that professionals such as doctors and engineers should be required to work in the country where they did their training. Others believe they should be free to work in another country if they wish. Discuss both views and give your own opinion. Okay, so the first comment that I kept highlighted is this one. For a higher rating, fuller coverage on the first point. What is the first point? The first point is this one. So professionals should be required to work in the country where they did their training. So professionals should be required to work in their home country. So that's the first point that the examiner made, which means the one of the major issues with this writing, with this sample, is that it's a lopsided response. The candidate mainly talked about the other view, the other argument, which is professionals should be free to work in another country if they wish. Professionals should be free to work in another country if they wish. But he largely ignored the first view, the first opinion, the first argument that professionals should be mandated to work in the country where they did their training. So that's a big no-no. That's a big problem. So we should keep that in mind. Our treatment of different views, different opinions should be more or less equal. We should not prioritize one view over the other. We can attach more importance to one view, the view that I share, but that does not mean that I should ignore the other view. The next comment that I kept highlighted is this, a similar story to the last sample that we looked at. So let's look at some of the errors. While I believe that, so it should have been that, but became something else. I don't know how to pronounce it. Since different nationalities mean different beliefs, so it should have been beliefs. And when a professional leaves the country, leaves, furthermore, as a study for South Africans, it should have been study of. Therefore, it affects the economy. Therefore, it affects the. There's a missing S here. Taking everything into account, it can be said that moving out from the moving. It should have been moving. So we should keep our mistakes to a minimum if we want to get 7 or higher in writing. So let's look at the last sample of writing. This sample received band 6 from the examiner. And here are the examiner's comments. But before we look at the comments, we need to read the prompt. Nowadays, a growing number of people with health problems are trying alternative medicines and treatments instead of visiting their usual doctor. Do you think this is a positive or negative development? Ideas are arranged coherently with a range of cohesive devices. Although organization is sometimes mechanical due to the high number of linking devices, we saw a similar comment a few samples ago, right? Let's look at the cohesive devices, which the examiner says are mechanical. Nowadays, here, in my opinion, here, the first, here, the next, the first again, the other reason, to sum it up. All these cohesive devices have been used smack at the beginning of the sentence. One here, one there, that's fine, but we should not use cohesive devices in every sentence or every other sentence. Okay? So let's look at the other comment from the examiner. However, there are errors, and most sentences are short and simple. Let's not talk about errors here because I already talked about errors in two of the previous samples. Here, let's talk about something else. Most sentences are short and simple. If you look at the introduction, this introduction is made up entirely of simple sentences. There's not a single sentence here that's complex or compound, just simple sentences. Since ancient times, people tried to treat themselves by herbals and other natural products. That's a simple sentence. In these days, the type of treatment is named as alternative medicine. That's also a simple sentence. Nowadays, more and more people with some diseases decide to use alternative medicines instead of classic medicine. Also, a simple sentence. In this essay, I will try to discuss pros and cons. That's also a simple sentence. 4 simple sentences back to back. That is a recipe for trouble, okay? In IELTS writing, we have to use a mix of simple, compound, and complex sentences.